A lot of people take time and pride in when they come out here. They're very serious about adopting an animal, and they do take time. And some people are out here for 3 hours, and if they want to be out here for 3 hours, we let them be out here for 3 hours. I think that's very good. I would encourage that, to take the time of choosing an animal. It's like having another child. They have to be fed, they have to be watered, they have to be cared for, they have to go to the doctor if they're sick. They need vaccinations every year. So I think it takes a lot of time to pick an animal that they would be comfortable with for a long period of time, and that's what we're hoping for, is they go to a house or a home that's for a long period of time.
The Pontotoc Animal Welfare Society, better known as PAWS, is an organization dedicated to caring for and controlling Ada's animal population. PAWS has been a haven for stray animals for more than 20 years.
PAWS was started in the early 80s. There are a few prominent Ada citizens whose names appear throughout the early history of PAWS, Anita Floyd and Billy Floyd being two of those. And it was created, 22 years ago or so, and has ended up evolving over the years as something that went from a very small shelter. The old dog pound was out north of the present site of Bandanas, and has evolved to what we have today, which is a really first-class shelter. The Collins estate owned the property that we have now, and they donated the land to us. And the board of PAWS at that time had a fundraiser and raised a lot of money. Mrs. Eileen McKeel was one of the primary donors and has been our biggest benefactor over the years. But she gave a good deal of money to get all of that started, but a lot of Ada citizens did too.
The group shelter, located at 1200 Sandy Creek Drive on the city's west side, is an excellent place to find a new pet. It's a place where lost or unwanted animals can go while hopefully awaiting a new home. The shelter has other functions as well.
It serves as the city's dog pound, so it serves as a place where animal wardens can pick up strays and bring them in and get them off the streets. And it also serves then as an animal shelter where animals can be adopted out to the public. There has to be a way to take care of these animals who are out on the street loose. There has to be a way that citizens can call and report problems, whether it's an animal that's been run over and needs to be dealt with in a humane fashion, or whether it's a goat or a horse that's loose that needs to be picked up, or whether it's a stray dog or cat. It's also a way that we can deal with animals that are being treated inhumanely. So the citizenship can call the animal shelter, and we can take care of that sort of thing. So that's the primary function that a dog pound / shelter has.
The PAWS shelter can hold a maximum of 80 animals at a time. Most of the shelter's new additions are dogs and cats that have either been picked up by the city's animal control officers or dropped off by former owners.
Every town has a stray animal problem, and you have to have some way to handle it. And this is by far the most humane way to do it. The animal wardens pick up animals, they bring them out to PAWS. We have a separate facility for their animals versus animals that are consigned to the shelter, so that we don't pick up strays that might have diseases and get them mixed into the population. And those animals, if you lose your dog, that animal is quarantined for 3 days so that it can't be adopted out to someone else. You have 3 days to pick it up, and after that time, then that animal can be transferred to the shelter.
When they're brought in, they're put on a 72-hour hold, and I do not include the first day that they're brought in. It starts the next day at 8 o'clock that morning. We keep them for 3 full days. Actually, it turns into about 5 days. Then after they're here, nobody claims them. I do decide if we put them up for adoption. They're heartworm tested or feline leukemia tested. They do have their vaccinations, everything but a rabies. I am not licensed to do that. They are dewormed, and then they're put up for adoption. We do try to go through to see if they have any obedience, you know, if they get along with the other animals, get along with us. And if they are, we just put them up for adoption and hope to find a good home.
Keeping healthy animals flowing through the shelter by means of the adoption process is a full-time job. Unfortunately, more animals come into the shelter than go out of it.
There was 121 brought in last month. 39 of those were adopted. I think we had to euthanize 77 animals.
Well, the thing that our board has talked about for PAWS forever is to ultimately end up with the ability to have a no-kill shelter. Our goal would be to not euthanize 1,000 animals a year, which we do now. And the reason why we have to euthanize animals is that there's a limitation on space, and it's not humane to keep a large dog in a small confined pen for months at a time. I mean, it's more humane to euthanize an animal than it is to keep them penned up like that. So our goal someday is to get enough money in the form of grants and donations that we can live off the income and have a no-kill shelter where animals can come and live out their lives.
Euthanizing animals is not easy for any of the shelter's employees, but with the number of animals being brought in larger than space allows, there is no real alternative at this time.
It's hard. That is the hardest part of the job, and that is my job. And it's not easy. You have a litter of 10 puppies. You know, you have to make a decision because you know all 10 puppies will not get adopted. It's a decision that none of us like to do, and I try not to do it daily because it's too hard to do daily. We try to do it 2 to 3 times a week. It's hard. It's a group decision is what we base it on. We all talk it with each other. I just don't make the decisions. I think we usually do it as a family around here is what's kind of what we've become. And it's hard to do, but we have to do it. And you know, the older dogs, it's tough to do because I just know they have a home. Or I feel like they have one. That's what I want to believe, is they have a home somewhere, and it's just hard to do.
The majority of the animals brought into the PAWS shelter are dogs, and some of them adapt to life in a cage better than others. Some are sick, and some are old, and some are simply unable to endure the shelter as well as others. All of these factors are taken into consideration before an animal is euthanized.
If the dogs are capable of handling being in a pen for that long of a time without bothering, if they don't mind, because they do get to go out to exercise, I leave them. I don't do anything to them. It's just like being in somebody's backyard. They get fed, they get watered, they get played with, they get exercise, and if they can handle it, I leave them alone. I don't do anything with them. If they want to stay here for 2 years, I let them.
Euthanizing animals is an emotionally taxing experience for the shelter's employees, but that's compounded by the fact that many of the animals that are put to sleep obviously belong to caring owners. A lot of times that can't be helped because the animal wears no identification tag and the owner may be unaware his pet has been picked up by an animal control officer and transported to the shelter.
Dogs do get out accidentally out of the yards. People let them out. They climb the fences. If they're tagged, we can have them home that day, or at least by the next day. And if they don't, you know, we just don't know. They have brand new collars, but no tags. We can't find the owners. People don't know that we're here. And this is where the lost dogs, if they're ever picked up by the animal wardens, this is where they come. A lot of people also will find dogs in parking lots and bring them to me. But there's just no tags, no way to get a hold of an owner unless they call. We had 121 animals brought in last month, 10 got to go back home.
Because so many animals are brought to the PAWS shelter, adoption becomes the primary means of saving their lives. There's probably not a better way to obtain a pet than by adopting one from PAWS. A healthy dog can be adopted for a minimal adoption fee of $35, and a healthy cat can be adopted for $25.
I encourage people to bring their children to see how the children interact with the dogs, the cats. If they're to bring their own animals, we have a large space that's fenced in the very back. It's all fenced in to where if you have a dog that you'd like to bring, or even just bring on the inside, weather permitting, just to introduce the dogs with the other animals just to see how they interact before you just take another animal home. People don't realize how much it costs to have an animal. Here it costs you end up $35 or $25 and everything's done. You don't have to worry about having the litters of the puppies or the kittens. They are heartworm negative. They are feline leukemia negative, which there's no cure for the feline leukemia. So we try to do that all up front in vaccinations, the first round of vaccinations.
The Paws Shelter is maintained by City of Ada pound fees, private donations, and an annual fundraiser called Dogs Night Out. Paws is always seeking financial assistance and volunteers to help keep the shelter's doors open to Ada's stray animal population. When animals are adopted, it not only creates a happy union of pet and owner, it also makes room for the next animal seeking refuge. In short, Paws has not ignored the city's stray animal problem, but has instead embraced it, doing everything in its power to find these animals new homes.
Well, the thing that I would say, I think, to the citizens of Pontotoc County is if you're looking for an animal, the greatest thing you can do is to adopt an animal that's homeless. We have great dogs and cats at Paws, and these animals are, in almost every respect, they make great pets. They're all available for adoption. There are, any given time, over 100 available. So, and they range from puppies and kittens all the way up to big animals. My biggest thing would be that people need to remember Paws. It's a cheap way to get an animal, and it's a good way to give a homeless animal a home.